First and foremost, the ability to solve problems is a pretty basic skill that everyone really needs to have in their locker to build the life they want to live. Whether you're someone who struggles with emotion regulation, addiction, or mental health issues, or you feel completely secure within yourself, problem solving is an essential skill to have no matter who you are. It's also 100% another one of the really important core skills that are necessary for improving our ability to regulate our emotional state or solve the emotionally overwhelming problems we're experiencing at any given point in time. In order for this skill to be an effective, intentional action that we take, first of all, we have to accept the fact that solving the problems we're experiencing in the situations we're struggling with can and will change the difficult emotions that we're struggling with. Here's the thing though, problem solving means actually taking action, not just thinking about the problem. It means doing something about it. It's sometimes the case that we know our emotions are in line with the facts and we see that there is an action that we can take that will solve the emotional problem that we're experiencing. However, we refuse to take this action because of the story we're telling ourselves about what's going to happen if we take this problem-solving step. The fear of taking this action stops us dead in our tracks, so we have to be willing to take these actions in order to see the benefits of the problem-solving skill. In essence, problem-solving is basically the first step in changing difficult situations. Problem-solving is needed when acting on an emotion using the other emotion regulation skills that we've discussed in the past have basically just not worked, or it's likely for them to be really ineffective. Problem solving is a coping strategy that increases the probability of getting through a particularly difficult situation without increasing your emotional stress or making things worse in the external world. It's no different to any of the other DBT skills in that it requires a conscious and focused effort to develop our ability to use it in everyday life. Before we can start using the problem-solving skills, we have to recognize that there's a problem to be solved. The following is a list of 7 basic steps involved in the problem-solving skill from a DBT perspective. Use this list to practice problem-solving when it's not necessarily needed, so the process will become ingrained in your habits and it will become an available skill to use when it's needed in an emotionally overwhelming experience. As with everything we do in dialectical behaviour therapy, mindfulness is an essential part of the process. If we're not able to notice the level of distress as it enters our system, we blend with the part of us that's been activated and we act in the way this part believes we have to act so we can cope with the current emotional experience. This reaction is often tied to a black and white, all or nothing perspective, which removes the opportunity to work with our parts and produce an effective outcome for the situation we find ourselves in. Observe and describe the part that's experiencing the problem to unblend from its desire to react and open the possibility to do something more effective than we might normally do. Checking the facts is an extremely essential and at the same time very difficult skill to develop. This is usually because at the time of activation, we're blended with a part of our personality that has a rigidity tied to its opinion simply being a fact. Sometimes this opinion might actually be accurate and sometimes it's not. So we have to develop the ability to know the difference between what is factual and what is a narrative that's connected to some kind of childhood story. Keep in mind that just because something is identified as a childhood story doesn't mean it's not justified in the current situation. Checking the facts gives us the opportunity to step back from the story and evaluate the situation from an objective point of view. If it's possible, this is a good time to use the worksheets associated with checking the facts to make sure that we're not participating in a childhood reenactment and confirm that our feelings are in line with what's actually happening right now. Knowing what it is that we want to achieve in any situation is incredibly important. When establishing the direction that we're trying to go, make sure it's in line with living the life we want to live according to your own true core values and beliefs, and at the same time, keep it simple. Make sure it's something you can really achieve and it's not a goal that's simply out of your reach. Naturally, the ultimate goal is to reduce our painful emotional experiences, but If you happen to notice that there's a part of you that's trying to remove them completely, this is something that cannot be accomplished, and we are fighting a losing battle right from the start. The primary task for this step is to identify what you think needs to happen for you to feel emotionally and physically better about the situation, not remove the emotional pain completely. In other words, what can you do to keep going in the direction you want to go while achieving the outcome you want to achieve? It's at this point where the support structure we developed as part of our foundational work can really come into play. Talk about the problem you're experiencing with other people so you can come up with as many different ideas as possible. Remember, this needs to be done from an objective perspective, not the rigidity of an active schema. We have to set aside our judgments to see things from a dialectical perspective, and this can be a really difficult thing to do. Try to access your state of wise mind prior to a conversation involving the problem-solving skill. Solutions can often be thought of as one or more actions that lead to the ultimate goal we're trying to get to, and when brainstorming with others, all ideas are welcome. Try not to evaluate the possible outcomes while participating in a brainstorming conversation, as this is often connected to the rigid perspective of a particular story, and it leads to a rejection of something that may actually support us in achieving what it is that we're trying to achieve. Talking about your struggles with the people who are part of your support network is a really fantastic way to work through your emotionally activating situations. However, while brainstorming this way can actually sometimes be a fun activity for us to participate in, providing lots of insight for why things are the way they are, it's definitely not the be-all and end-all that we may think it is. The whole point of brainstorming is to generate an effective solution to a problem where previously there was no solution that was immediately available to us, especially given the emotional experience that we're having at that time. Once we've generated lots of different ideas, it's time to identify which one, or maybe even two, are the best for us to implement in our behavioural responses. This is often a really good time to use the pros and cons skill that we've previously talked about to weigh up your different options, or even to walk yourself into the non-judgmental state of wise mind to get curious about how you really feel at your core. The entire enterprise of learning the skill of problem solving is aimed at putting into action an effective solution to the problem at hand, and this means actually taking an action. Sometimes this might be an opposite action to the one that we would normally take, and sometimes it might be something that activates a large amount of fear in our system. Ultimately, all of the insight that we gain through brainstorming, checking the facts, accessing wise mind, or performing a pros and cons exercise is worth very little in the grand scheme of things if we don't take an action to live the life we want to live. Experiential avoidance is a very real thing, and it shows up in many different ways. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes not so much. For me, for example, it would often show up in my philosophical and intellectual exploration into reasons why I do the things I do. This constant exploration into insight and knowing the answer actually keeps me experientially avoidant from taking any physical action and trapped me in a thinking mode that never lets me change. Don't get me wrong, insight is an important thing, but without action in actuality, it doesn't help us to live the life we want to live. Once the action's been taken, it's important to evaluate its effectiveness and make adjustments to what we did right now for future situations that activate the same emotional response. Noticing what we did that went well and what it was that had us act in ways that were effective for living the life we want to live is the very essence of the DBT skill called noticing positive events. Making adjustments for what we can do differently in the future is all wrapped up in the planning ahead to build mastery skill. So hopefully you're starting to see how the DBT skills program gives us all the skills we need to live the life we want to live every single day. We just have to learn how to use them. When we're actually evaluating the previous action, ask yourself, am I satisfied with the results of my problem solving? Do I feel better about my situation than I did before? And were there any negative outcomes for myself or for the people around me? In the PDF at the bottom of the website page that's attached to this video, you're going to find a worksheet that's intended to help you go through the process of problem solving. Take some time to complete it, and at the same time, think about the circumstances of your life when you've known that a solution might work, but then you didn't follow through with implementing it. Remember that if this happens to you right now, it's just another problem to solve. See if you can figure out whether the thing that stopped you from taking the problem solving action was basically tied to being able, capable, or willing to do it, or maybe something else completely different. Take some time to journal about this to see if you can troubleshoot how to overcome such problems in implementing solutions in the future. If you take a look around my YouTube channel or the pages of my website, you're going to find a lot more videos and handouts on this and many other skills associated with DBT and schema therapy. If you want to know more, come join the live online conversations that I facilitate each week on Zoom. I'll leave some links in the description below. And as always, if you like the content of this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and turn on those notifications for all the latest from me and the Liberation Place. I hope this video gave you an idea for how to use the skill of problem solving in your own process of taking the actions you need to take to live the life you want to live. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Take care, be safe, and be well.